Welcome to the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. I'm your host, Brandon. With me, as always, is Dave. Dave, how are you?
Things good, Brandon. How are you, pal?
I'm doing good. We got our first week of NBA basketball in the books, so we got lots and lots and lots to talk about. Some teams that are starting off hot, some teams that maybe looking that we maybe need to look at for a bit of concern, or might be too early to tell. But some trends are certainly happening. Got Wade statue and all the fun that surrounded that. And NBA Starting Five, like the Netflix documentary, they announced a second season with some new players, so we can touch on that. Maybe just a slight touch if we don't run out of too much time. How was your week in the NBA world?
It was very good. It was fun to watch meaningful ball again. And I'm a sicko who loves the draft. So like when the Raptors were beating the Nuggets the other day, I was like, gosh, I hope they show well, but lose this game. And then Jokic did me a favor and won that game for Denver.
Yeah, he did, and he's had to do a lot. He's had to do a lot early on to keep Denver sort of afloat. Yeah, he was able to pull that one out against the Raptors. How you feeling about the Raptors so far early on? Early takeaways from them?
They're exactly the team that I thought they would be, and that like I was hoping that they would be fun. They would play like a fun ball movement brand of basketball, and that they would score points but lose a lot of games. They would be in the most games that a team loses this season, if you will.
Right.
Is like my hope for the Raptors. And like so far so good. 1-3, right? Looking good in the bottom of the conference. But like, okay, don't get me wrong. Like, I love winning basketball, and I want to see them like play deep into the playoffs and win another championship. But I'm also like aware of how you build teams, and without a season or two like this one, where they're just not going to be very good, you don't get these players. Like these players, like a LeBron James is never going to sign in Toronto.
Right.
It's just
Right.
like the
That's not
nature of
what's happening.
things.
Yeah.
So this is a necessary year, and I'm just trying to have the most fun with it that I can. And I love the draft, so this is kind of exciting for me. But yeah, 1-3 record, right where I want to be.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good. I think all signs point towards solid development over there. Like there's some guys that are popping a little bit. Ochi has been doing some cool things. You know, the young guys are doing what they're supposed to do and giving you hope as a fan base, which is what you want, which is ultimately what you want.
Yeah.
Also, what you want is we get to talk about the Lakers for once, because we don't really talk about the Lakers too much, but which is surprising because you think, you know, that big marquee team, but often they're not doing too well, so we don't get a chance to talk about them. But they have started the season off quite well so far, only dropping one game to the Suns, who've also started off pretty well for themselves as well. I guess my first takeaways from them is how well Anthony Davis has been playing and kind of inserting himself in this early, very, very, very early MVP conversation. How have you thought about the Lakers so far?
So I started seeing like, because Davis had a good preseason as well,
Yeah.
and I remember I was listening to JJ Redick's podcast before he got hired as coach, and I remember him talking about like being interviewed, and at one point like he knew he got the job, but like he called Anthony Davis to make sure Anthony Davis would be like on board with his style, because it was all built around like maximizing Davis, not LeBron necessarily. And you think that's like nice language, something that you want to hear your coach say about like one of your best players, is that like they're going to prioritize them. And then this season it's like, so far the proof's in the pudding. Like Davis has been a monster. The ball movement's been great. There's been a lot of shooting. Like it's a good looking team. Like they look like a modern basketball team. They somehow look like all the pieces make sense. They look kind of deep, it's really strange. It flies against like a lot of what people were saying in the offseason about this team.
Yeah, there's like not a lot of hope for this team in the offseason. I think
Yeah.
they're projected to be around like the 10th seed when we were looking at like those early projections from ESPN. But yeah, as you say, I think JJ's come in. He's done a great job with just implementing a system and having guys really buy into it. And I think that has been around Anthony Davis. I think for years we've kind of been waiting for the keys to turn over to Anthony Davis and for it to kind of be his team. So I think JJ coming in and setting that tone and being like, yeah, this is going to be run through Anthony Davis. LeBron's still going to do his thing. We saw him have a crazy quarter the other game,
Yeah.
15-point quarter to close it out. So LeBron's still going to be LeBron when he needs to be, but as you can see, as in the last game against the Suns, he can have dips now too, where like he barely scratching over 10 points because he is getting up there, right? So he's in the twilight of his career. So it's nice to see Anthony Davis kind of stepping forward in that regard and seeing JJ Redick, a rookie coach, gaining that respect from his guys. And you can see it on the court. You can see that they're playing together. They're kind of playing for him. He's not afraid to take responsibility. After the loss to the Suns, he was able to say like he should have done some things differently with Kevin Durant, maybe blitz him a little more. And he took that as a moment for him to learn and get better from. So I think when players see that from their coach, and he knows that as a player, it reflects well against them, and they wanna kind of reciprocate that same type of respect towards the work that they put in each and every day.
No, it's honestly, like, so far so good. I had high hopes for JJ when he got hired, but you know, you never know until they get in there and they start like doing the job, what it's going to be like. And you know, part of it is like, you know, is he younger than LeBron?
If not, they're on the same age. They can't be that
Right.
far off. They're basically peers.
And he's coaching him now, right? He's telling James like, this is how you're gonna play basketball today, right? Which is kind of like a wild thing to think about. But no, I'm really impressed with JJ, and I'm really impressed with the Lakers so far. And I want to see how far it goes. Let's do
Yeah.
more than win the NBA Cup.
Yeah, that's one and the NBA Cup. That is definitely not their goal this year. One thing that I've noticed with them is the offense, as you mentioned, they're spreading they look more cohesive on that end of the court. Whether it be that they didn't have much turnover, they didn't enter the season with a cloud over their head with some type of drama with Westbrook or something. It was pretty straightforward offseason, not much changeover. So they're able to implement a system with a new coach much easier than they had to have in the past. Like they've had to go through Darvin Ham, they had Frank Vogel, so there's all these different types of coaches. I think JJ being like the analytical guy too has kind of helped them on the offensive end because he's looking at lineups, looking at things that work from that perspective, and he's always been kind of heavy on that when I was like kind of listening to his podcast. That's something that he likes to get into. So seeing him implement that into the system now has been interesting to see as well. Like in comparison to last year, their offense has looked slightly better. According to Cleaning the Glass right now, they're fifth in the league in points per possession on offense. But a lot of that has to do with like they're just not turning over the ball. They're turning over the ball a lot less than they did last year. And they're getting a lot more offensive rebounds than they did last year. So whether that stays the course, but I think the turnovers is something that they can control throughout the year. Offensive rebounds, we're seeing that mainly, I think, because of Anthony Davis, like his impact on that side of the court has
Yeah.
just been ridiculous so far. Like just to go through his numbers, like early on, like this is of course early sample size, small sample size. It's all change very quickly, but he's averaging 32 points, 32.8 points per game, 12 rebounds, 1.5 steals, 2.5 blocks per game. It's just some nutty stuff. 55% from the field, like just some outrageous stuff from Anthony Davis so far.
And the Western Conference Player of the Week.
Western Conference Player of the Week, Jason Tatum, Eastern Conference Player of the Week on the other end there. But yeah,
Also had a good week. Yeah.
also had a very good week that we're probably not going to mention at all because it's kind of what we expect from Boston. So unfortunately, doesn't get much mention. Anything else on the Lakers before we move on to other topics, other teams?
Not anything beyond like it's still very much like wait and see. This is a really great start for the Lakers, but like
Best start in a long time for them. Looking
But
so
like,
much.
let's give it more than 1 week.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. We'll see where this all goes. It can, especially when losses come, that's when you really see their true character, and if people just revert back to who they are. Other teams that have been starting off pretty hot though are the let's talk about the team that they lost to, the Suns. Another team that's starting off 3-1 as we record this. Um, yeah, 3-1 as well, and they've had some tough close games as well, but they've been able to pull it out. Again, new coach coming in there as well with Mike Budenholzer. So again, seeing what he can bring in, I think, like we mentioned before this season, the added depth that they've had and him being able to use it has been beneficial to them. They missed Bradley Beal for a game, but it didn't seem to matter. They're still clicking. So yeah, another team that has started off kind of hot. I was maybe a little more down on to start the season, but as the season starts, looking maybe a little bit better until injuries and so forth come.
Yeah, Phoenix is an interesting one because like I feel like they got incrementally better, but not like this much better. Um, I think their stars have just been showing out so far. Uh, I have more confidence in like LA staying hot than Phoenix, but that said, I'll be honest, like I haven't watched a lot of their games. I just see stuff like highlights where it's like um shout outs to Booker and Durant because they're having monster games. And then I think to myself, like, where's Beal? But as you said, he was injured the one game. Um, but I don't know. I feel bad in a way. I feel bad for Bradley Beal. Like he was brought there to be the other big uh piece, and he's always like the forgotten man.
Yeah,
And
yeah, yeah.
I mean, like he's doing well enough for himself, but like, yeah, I kind of feel bad for Bradley Beal. If Phoenix goes like strong all year, they'll need him. So
Yeah.
we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, there's definitely still need what he brings in. But yeah, I think like just the little incremental additions of like Tyus Jones, Royce O'Neal have just helped their depth just so much more than they had last year, and just balance some stuff out. Just put Booker in more of a natural spot on and as a shooting guard, and not having to do all those point guard responsibilities as much. And same thing with KD. I feel like those two are really trying to focus on like playmaking and all that type of stuff. But I think with Tyus Jones there, he's just been able to help that out slightly. I thought Nurkic would take more of a bump, but it seems like he's Budenholzer is going away from him. He's not going the Brook Lopez route with him. He's just he's doing something different, which is credit to him. He's figuring out something that works for them, and also their guy there, Ryan Dunn, also.
Yeah, Dunn's been getting a lot of good reporting, if you will. Apparently, he can shoot now, which going into
Yeah,
the draft, the kid
yeah.
couldn't shoot at all.
He couldn't shoot. He couldn't shoot, but now
Yeah.
he could shoot. And then what a difference it makes. Um, and if that's, but again, this is very early, so it could just be a little hot streak, and it could not be real at all. Of the two teams though, Phoenix and the Lakers, because these are two of the, let's call them the elderly teams there. Which one would you have more faith in? I guess you'd go with the Lakers.
Yeah, I think I'd go with the Lakers. Like I just feel there's a little bit more. Like I talk a lot about teams being built in a way that like makes sense, and I guess I just trust the bigs in the front court on the Lakers more than that of Phoenix. A lot of that, like not a lot of that, but some of that comes down to the fact that like um, Kevin Durant, like if he's playing power forward, for example, he's like such a perimeter power forward. I don't expect him to be in there like banging bodies and grabbing offensive rebounds and stuff like that. I expect him to shoot threes and like make most of them. But up front on the Lakers, like I kind of expect LeBron to get down there and do some dirty work, especially if the scoring isn't going so well. Like
Right. He's
that's
gonna
when
find
he's
a way.
like, yeah, that's when he's like playmaking and rebounding and finding a way. And then like Davis has been a monster. It's nice to hear the Nurkic it's working for him, but I feel like the NBA game has kind of like passed when Nurkic was at his best, if you
Yeah,
will.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um, so I just, yeah, longer term, I like the bigs in LA, and I feel like that gives them more staying power. If that
Yeah,
makes sense.
I do think the Suns need a long term solution on that end of the court. And I think piece by piece, this might take them another year to really get. I think that's a risk when you run with one of these teams. Like you went so in for these three guys, and it's going to take a little while to kind of fill out the rest of the team, in a way that helps. And you just hope that by the time you're able to fill out the team, those guys that haven't aged out too far, like Kevin Durant is still isn't too far gone at that point. But so far so good. So far he's looking just fine, averaging around 29 points. So KD seems to be doing just fine. I guess staying out west. Yeah, staying out west. Another team, undefeated team we have is Oklahoma City Thunder, which I think is par for the course. Expected. Similar to Boston, and like there's not much really to note there, but I think there is in the story of Chet. I think coming into the season, we knew Chet was gonna have to take a leap for OKC to kind of take a leap, and it's looking as if that leap is coming. Like he's anchoring that defense. As we record this, I believe they have like the number one defense and they're top 5 in defense, top 5 in offense. Very early. And they were the same last year with Chet anchoring it as well. So I think some of like those early projections of like defensive player of the year, Chet was second, I believe, in the odds. Like it's tied for second in like what,
Yeah, yeah,
but
he was.
I think I think he should have been kind of first. I think he should have been kind of first because he's kind of been anchoring it. And when we look at like historically how they just hand out this award, best team, they have a top 5 defense, and he's getting all the blocking stats. He's going to get all the blocking stats. He's going to get all the kind of stats that look good. Wemby's going to get them as well. But Chet's aren't that much different than Wemby's, and he's on a more of a winning team. And has a chance to make a big impact on that end of the court. Now, when Hartenstein comes back from his injury, this stuff might dip down. He might not have to have this responsibility the same, and it might be just because the big situation that it is right now is allowing him to kind of act out this way and start off the season like this. But I think that's just kind of the player he is. He kind of has this ferocity to him since he's been drafted, that he kind of wants it in that way. And I think it translates the best on the defensive end. And then the offenses come together. He's shooting it with a lot more confidence, quicker, off the dribbles coming a little bit more. All those three guys, Shea, Jalen, and Chet, seem to be in rhythm and just willing passers, willing playmakers, but willing shooters now as well. I think last year you saw like even like Shea would hesitate with 3-point shots, and this year it looks like he's just letting it fly. So interesting to see that development going on there in OKC.
Yeah, like watching them, I know like especially their offseason felt like it was, we'll bet on another year of internal development, and they've bet correctly because those three guys that you just mentioned, like Jalen, Shea, and Chet, like all look really good so far. Now it's 1 week into the season, of course, but yeah, if they just keep this up or very close to it, I don't see Oklahoma losing a lot of games. They've got depth for days. They've got the right role players. Those three guys are cooking. I agree with you that like Chet's a little bit like he wants it. Like that guy's a little bit crazy in that like he wants it so bad.
Yeah.
And it's really fun. I still think Wemby's a better defender. And I get what you're saying where you're like, oh, well, the team that wins generally wins the award, right? And San Antonio is not projected to win a lot, but Wemby's now like in the running for like face of the NBA.
NBA. So he's one of those rare guys who kind of like transcends those do you have like those expectations or like those like guidelines for like awards and stuff like that? But he'll be like one of those guys that are just like that. Throw that to the side. Look what this guy's doing. I just think the value that comes with Chet on that team, and what he brings on that end of the court in the last, because they were a decent defensive team, but they weren't this good before Chet was there last year. And I think that impact had just gone a little bit under the radar because of Wemby, because Wemby's so good, and they're the same rookie class now because of Wemby getting drafted the year after, but Chet missing the first year. So they kind of have the same rookie season. They're kind of brought in the same light. So I think because of that similar body types, both tall guys, lankier, type of build. So I think all that comes into factor when you're just looking at the two guys. I think Chet in this moment right now, it's very early. We're 3 games in, not even like this season. But in this moment right now, and I feel like I felt this way since maybe midway through the last season. I think he's a little bit more deserving of that. And when he does switch onto the perimeter, he does look a little more stable than Wemby at this moment. Wemby will probably figure it out, and he has the length to that. It doesn't really matter. Like,
Yeah.
that's the one thing with Wemby.
Yeah, Wemby's got the cheat code length. And yeah, like Chet seems more dialed in. Like he seems more like he's the player that's ready to be playing for a championship. But then again, like Wemby playing in the Olympics, right? Took France all the way to silver, and nearly won that game against America. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's just like expectations and stage with a guy like Wemby, but that's all speculation, right? Because Chet's on that stage and he's performing. So you're right.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
he's been incredible this year, and considering how durable he was last year, like
Yeah.
I'm really impressed with the kid because, as you said, like he's a lankier build, but if he can stay on the court, like Oklahoma's in for a treat of a year.
Yeah, because once at least Hardenstein comes back, he doesn't even have to bang with these bodies like
No.
he's had to right now, and he's only really done it right now because he's out of necessity. But just to wrap it up on OKC, I think that defense in general is just very terrorizing. I think I underestimated Alex Caruso's impact on that end of the court, and Casey Wallace's as well. The way that they were just like, I know Trey doesn't have like much backcourt help over in the Hawks, but watching that game and just the way that they're able to just swarm him and they're just pests. Like all of them are just pests. Like even when you're just trying to inbound the ball from the sideline, it's like not an easy inbound. And even Shea is he was steals leader last year, so he's great at getting into the passing lane and just causing a little bit of havoc. I think Shea's averaging like 3 steals and 2 blocks, like just to start the season as well. Like like all these guys are just doing insane things on both ends of the course. And I think as one of the two-way teams, a true two-way team, throughout the NBA, I think they're one of the few that have it on both ends of the court. I think the last team, 2 teams, I think I want to shout out the Magic on the East. Just because Suggs got that contract and I was confused. I was so confused why they gave him all that money. But he's performed. Early on, he's had some really, really big games for the Magic. He's done some great things. He's scoring the ball. He's setting up guys like Paolo well. Like he's doing the job that he's getting paid to do. And I could see more and more as to why they've invested into him. I think he's kind of won out that role. Like I think that there's a point in time where like Cole Anthony was kind of like him and Cole Anthony are kind of fighting for the role, but now I think it's very solidified. He is their guy in the point guard, and he's taking that and ran with it well. And Paolo the other night scoring 50 points, just out of nowhere. He had 37 in the first half and finished with 50. So the Magic, and they also killed Miami by 30 points in their opening game. So I think the Magic are a team that I think is ready to take that next step. When we looking at teams that were, I think we were talking about like Indiana and the Magic is which team do we think are gonna go up and which team's gonna go down, because both those teams can't really repeat success. It doesn't usually work out that way. Or if they do, somebody from these is gonna have to fall hard. And we've seen some teams fall, and as we'll talk about later, but I think the Magic have really come into this season ready and prepared to take another leap and solidify themselves as a solid East team.
No, I agree. I like the Magic a lot. And the more shooting that they get all year and the more they can find all year, like it's just going to open up more space for guys like Paolo, Franz, and even Jalen Suggs. Like if Jalen's hitting shots and he's running the point, like that's huge for that team, right?
Yeah.
Because it allows them to play like KCP, who can just roam and throw up shots, and then just Paolo can be Paolo, Franz can work the perimeter, and it just like it's a good young team. And if they get anything out of guys like Anthony Black or or Jet. Golly, I
Howard.
just had his
Yeah.
Jet Howard. Yeah, like if Jet finds his shooting stroke and becomes the guy that he was supposed to be in the draft, like that's amazing. And then Anthony Black's just like one of those cool basketball players where
Mhm.
okay, he's not the best shooter, but he's a big guy. He's got length. He can dribble. He can pass. He can play defense. He can rebound. He just does cool basketball stuff. And the more they find like everyone's role on the team, the better. And I like Cole Anthony better as a six man. Um, yeah, I have high hopes for the Magic. You're gonna have to get yourself. You can't. I was gonna say you got to get a Magic jersey, but you're such a. You,
I would get a penny. I would get a penny one. I can't get any of these new guys, but, but but penny, yeah. Sign me up for a penny jersey.
I would totally rock. A rookie Shaq jersey all
Oh
day.
yeah. That would be that's acceptable as
Come
well.
on.
That's super acceptable. No, yeah, like the stuff from the I think one of the underrated parts about the Magic too. I mean, about Paulo's 50 piece the other day is like, yeah, triple double, he had like 13 rebounds and like 9 assists. Like
Yeah.
he is a. I think we don't go. Well, maybe we don't give him enough credit as a playmaker as well. Like he can score the ball. You know, he has that resemblance to Carmelo Anthony at times with the face-up game and stuff like that. But I think his passing is where he truly kind of shows that he can be an upper echelon player, and I'm really interested. I was a little skeptical of him when he was first drafted in the NBA, but now a couple of seasons in, I'm really interested in how his career is gonna progress. Yeah,
And he's proven to be quite durable too, which was like, I was worried that he might be like Blake Griffin, right?
right.
Where you've got this like great athlete, he's got a bigger body, very explosive, but like just can't see out a season, right? Um, and he's proven to be quite durable. He just keeps getting better. He seems to want it, which is a big thing. Yeah, I'm a big fan of Paolo. Really, really impressed. Like it's funny because Chet's forever tied to Wemby, but he's also forever tied to Paolo.
Yeah, because
You
he's
know,
drafting them right next to him.
he
Yeah.
was the number 2 to Paolo, right?
Yeah. All these kind of random storylines within these guys just because of an injury. But it's interesting to see like they're technically the same draft class, and these guys are just thriving now. Like the young guys are starting to take over. It seems to be that time of the era where some of the older guys phase out and some of the newer guys start to take over. One of the older guys hanging on though with the Clippers is James Harden. He's been keeping them afloat. I've completely counted them out, but they started off quite well. And even the game that they lost, it was a competitive game. Like they've looked good in all the games. They're letting Harden be Harden since they have really no one else to do anything on offense. They're like, hey, Harden, you do you. And Harden with any type of capable center does magic for whatever reason. Give him Zubox. Zubox looks amazing now. Has Zubox looking like Dwight Howard. So it's a team that I kind of just underlooked going into the season of the Clippers. And if this is kind of the production that they're able to give with just James Harden being your main offensive guy. I mean, I know you got Norman Powell the other night having 37 points, and you're gonna have guys chipping here and there. But really, the engine right now is James Harden, and him being able to do that when if Kawhi ever comes back, and if he's any type of healthy, does this add another wrinkle into the Western Conference?
Yeah, James Harden must have just loved to see what like Luka did last year during the playoffs and was like, look, guys, it can be done. I'm gonna go back to playing the way I used to play. Because he tried really hard to like change his game and be more of like a facilitator and like a team player and not be, like the great line that he says where he's like, I'm not a system player, I am a system.
Yeah.
Or something like that. And
Yeah. Yeah. I am the system. I remember that. Yeah.
I am the system.
Yeah.
And he's just like completely playing that way this year. And yeah, as you said, there's like, what else are they going to do? Right. Like they need him to do it. He's actually the perfect guy to be in LA right now for a team that's like completely lost their identity to just be like, hey, James Harden, here's the keys.
Yeah,
He is
yeah,
driving the heck out of that franchise at the moment.
yeah. And
Right.
the new arena looks really good on TV. Like, looks a great atmosphere. Um,
I hope it's good in person. You know.
hopefully, it's good in person. Maybe
Yeah.
one day I'll know. But as of right now, no idea. No, but yeah. Clippers have been doing well to start off at least. Before we get into some teams that or anything else before we get off the Clippers?
No, that's just shocking that they are where they are. And in which case, like, really just like shout out to them. Like, that's really good for them because everybody was saying that this was going to be like one of the worst teams in the league and they were going to have like a really good lottery pick, which I believe goes to Oklahoma. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so for the sake of the NBA,
They're doing well.
James Harden, keep it up.
Yeah. Keep this parody going.
Yeah.
I guess we'll touch on one last East team was the Cleveland Cavaliers because they're also undefeated. They're them and Boston in the East are the two remaining undefeated teams. And I think the Cavs just coming into this season, everyone's healthy. And they've all had a sense of buy-in. I think to start this season, they've all wanted to make it a point that look, it may look awkward together, but we can make it work. Evan Mobley starting off really good, starting off the season really good. He's even shooting some more threes this year to help space up the court between him and Jared Allen. So that's been good. Garland and Mitchell seem to be taking turns appropriately. Like one game is really Donovan Mitchell's game, then the other game is it was Darius Garland's game. So I think that balance has so far worked itself out. Having two careers on the perimeter is beneficial, and they're using it to their advantage right now, and haven't been able to be punished too much on the defensive end yet. So far so good for the Cavs. Yeah.
Yeah. Not a, I think you hit it. Like it's working right now. But it's still awkward. It's just they're an awkward team to watch. They're just like it's like why is everybody playing each other's roles? Like,
Why is everyone playing each other's positions? Yeah.
but it's working. It's working right
It's
now.
working. Yeah, it's working
So
right now.
don't mess with a good thing. It's like when you're driving a really old car and it only works if the vent is like in a very specific position.
Yeah,
Like,
keep
oh
it there.
yeah, keep it there.
Yeah,
So
it.
just
Don't
let it work,
don't-
Cleveland. And if it goes off the rails, adjust it then. But like right now, gonna have to put my Darius Garland like trade talk on hold.
Put it to the side. Put it to the
Yeah.
side. Maybe Fox. But not Garland. But I think before we get into some of the teams that concern us, I just want to touch on the statue. We got a statue unveiled. A beautiful statue was unveiled in Miami. Dwyane Wade, Hall of Famer, 3-time NBA champion, 09 scoring champ, multiple All NBA player, multiple All Star, all that fun stuff. He got cemented in history with a statue in front of the Miami Heat arena, which is honor only a few can say they have, which was a nice moment to have for Miami Heat and the franchise. I think he touched on the fact that with Miami, it's something that he's creating the history instead of just being like a footnote, a part of the history, like if you would be with the Lakers, him being like the first one to get a statue of this magnitude there. I think it was big for the franchise and big for the Heat in general. Now, the statue itself, I think they nailed it on most parts of it. Yeah, it's a statue, right?
That's just it. Like none of these statues look like really good. This one does not look really good, but it's fine. It's fine. The pose is really good. I kind of like the little bit of like the way the logo pops, the way they've like painted it, if you will. But yeah, you brought up his face like before we came on air, and yeah, you might be onto something, but it's fine.
It's fine. Like it's fun. It's fun to joke on. It's fine, but it's like you said, it's a statue. This is how it generally goes. Statues aren't the greatest, but it is just to represent a time that it's to represent a time for the Miami Heat and their history and what they've been able to accomplish as a franchise. And I think it really propelled them as to one of these franchises that are now entering more of the historic period. Like you have like your Lakers, you have your Celtics, you have your Spurs. I think having a player like Dwayne Wade not only retire his jersey but have a statue in the front of the arena kind of gives credence to being one of those premier franchises and gives it a step in the next direction. In that direction into being one of those elite franchises. Obviously, winning put you there as well.
So what do you think about like who gets a statue and where? Because like I believe AI got a statue last year, but like Philadelphia, they put all their statues. They're kind of smaller statues, and they all like lead up to the practice facility, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Right. Dwayne Wade got his like right in front of the stadium. Probably the most important player to ever play for the Heat. Um, but then like, you know, I'm a Raptors fan. There's a lot of talk that like, oh, the Raptors need to put up a statue of Kyle Lowry. And it's like, look, I'm a Raptors fan. Kyle Lowry was great for us, but he's not a guy that like 3 generations down the road, people are gonna be like, who's the statue of daddy? Oh, well, let me tell you about Kyle Lowry, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Like he's great as like a Raptor and like a Raptors fan of this era, but you know, when you put up a statue, like to me, they should be like cross the board legendary. Like
Yeah.
the Raptors, if they're gonna put up a statue, like I'm really glad they've mended their bridges with Vince, because right now, in my opinion, he's the only one that deserves one.
That's
Because
what
he
that was my question.
changes the perception of the game in the city.
Yeah. He was special to the city. Like he really changed the perception of basketball in Toronto. I could just say from growing up, like basketball was not that big of a thing until like Vince really came in. He was such an electric force that he just transcended the sport in a way that Kyle Lowry just doesn't.
No,
And he's
and
like a
Kyle's
really good.
great, but
Kyle's probably had a better basketball career. We can even make the argument for better basketball player. You can make the argument for, but Carter in his time in Toronto was special. It was just a different energy that was around here that you just don't get from too many players. And I think you're onto something there. Is that that's the type of player that you really want to give a statue to? Like he really changed the culture. Who knows if Toronto even has a team down the line if Vince Carter doesn't pan out? They might have gone the way of Vancouver.
yeah,
For,
100%. Yeah.
for all we know. So I think that's very relevant. I was gonna ask you what between the two who you would pick, but I think I know your choice now. I think it would be Vince if you had to pick a Raptors
It would
player
be Vince, and it would be like what they did with the city jersey with the Raptor. Like it would be that like dunk between his legs.
his legs.
Yeah. That would be the pose, and you'd elevate it and maybe like hang him off the basket or something. But like to me, they've got to be a legendary player in the place where they made like their most memorable impact. You know, like Shaq, yes, he was a Magic when he was drafted, but like if somebody's gonna put up a statue of him, to me it's gonna be like the Lakers. Like that's where you remember. That's where you remember Shaq from. You know, if somebody's gonna like
I think
Jordan's
they
only
have
gonna
one.
go up in Chicago, right? Like you know, like Braun, you'd put him in Cleveland, right? Like considering like he won most of his titles with the Heat. He's had
That's
a
still
title
crazy.
with the Lakers. Like he's got to go up in Cleveland though.
Yo, he's a Cleveland. Like that's got to be
Yeah.
a Cleveland statue. So would you say of the players left, would that be who are the players left in the NBA that would who if they retired soon would get a statue? Like are we looking at like Katie? Katie for me would be an interesting one because where does he go? Where is he OKC? Is he a Warrior? I don't think it would be anything to do with Brooklyn. But
Not Brooklyn. I doubt the Suns. If the Warriors are putting one up,
unless the Suns win like a championship with Kevin Durant on the team, then maybe something crazy can happen there. But yeah, I think right now we're just looking at those two teams, OKC and the Warriors. If
I think it's got to be OKC because his Warriors run, although successful, it always felt like Steph's team, right?
Mhm.
So if OKC is going to put up a statue, it's going to be of Steph. Or sorry, if Golden State's going to put up a statue, it's
Yeah,
going to be
yeah.
of Steph, right? Yeah, I don't know. Like KD just outside of the league offices.
Just you just need a statue somewhere, sir.
You just
Like,
need one.
yeah, we don't want to put it.
Chris Paul, would you put up a Chris Paul statue?
I don't think Chris Paul gets a statue.
Ooh.
I because Clippers, New Orleans would be like the two that come to mind first. Houston and Houston, but not really. Like that's
he never had the success. That was the problem,
like,
right?
He had Lob City was probably the most success he had, and I don't think you get really a statue with the Clippers for that. One, because the Clippers, I don't know really getting statues out like that, and then two, I don't think because of the success, I don't think you get one. But again, Hall of Fame career.
Giannis, Jokic, or Joel. Do any of them get statues?
I think Giannis. The Denver one's interesting. Because you also have Carmelo Anthony, who just seems to be, they kind of just evaporated his history and just poofed it away by giving Jokic his same jersey. So that jersey, not, if that jersey gets retired, I think it's going to even get retired as Carmelo Anthony is going to be retired as Nikola Jokic's. And then his history with New York is kind of weird too. They didn't really do. Melo's also an interesting case, right? I don't know if he gets a statue when it comes.
I don't think he does. Yeah.
But out of like Jokic, Embiid, and Giannis, I don't think Embiid's getting one at this point. I think Jokic has a good chance because they did win the championship in Denver. I think Giannis too has a good chance, like to get one. What would their poses be? I don't even know. For those guys, I guess Steph's kind of like an automatic. He should be getting a trophy,
getting one,
statue. Yeah, when jersey retired and everything.
Of the young guys, who do you think is getting a statue? Is it just Luka? Is it Wemby? Would you put up a Wemby statue before you put up a Tim Duncan statue? Even if they have similar careers?
Can't.
Right? You got to put up Tim Duncan.
Yeah. Duncan's gotta go up.
Is that the problem with getting drafted by San Antonio as Wemby then?
you're just behind Duncan.
You're just you're behind all the legacy.
Duncan Robinson too also had a crazy rookie year. Almost as crazy as, and maybe crazier than Wemby's. So that one's tough. I don't know, of the new generation, it's really hard for like Tatum. Is he in that
ahead of
now?
Bird, ahead of
I think some of those guys already
does Bird have a statue?
I think some of those guys already have one.
Ahead of Paul Pierce.
I see.
Pierce won a champ. He won a chip.
He did win one, and I think he should be more known for some of the stuff he was there for such a long time, like through the bad. Like I feel like KG kind of gets more of like the Boston love at times when it should really be Paul Pierce, because he was there. I know like after his career is over, the end of his career wasn't the best, and like all his like media stuff and all his like hot takey stuff that he does now is like rubs people the wrong way sometimes. But him as a player, like especially like in that mid 2000s, just before he won the championship, he was like one of the best wing players to play at that point in time. And he was with Boston through such a hard time. He withstood it. He got the championship. But I don't think he gets a statue.
It's tough to get a statue, right? Like,
I think I read somewhere it's about under 20 players that have one.
And to me, it's like statues go to the players that, like, you know, you can bring this player up in front of your friends who don't just not care about basketball, but don't care about sports. Right. And you can be like, oh, you know, Chicago's putting up a Michael Jordan statue. And they're like, oh, really? Chicago, Michael Jordan. Right. Like, to me, Dwyane Wade, one of those guys, or at least on the edge of it. Right. Vince Carter would be one of those guys, or at least on the edge of it. Giannis is kind of like a modern day on the edge of it guy. LeBron will get one. LeBron's going to get one. Steph's going to get one. I don't know. does anybody actually get one beyond those two guys?
I think at this point, it's too early to call any of those guys really get one. Like I think Wemby has obviously that chance because he might be one of those generational players, and he just might be. And also, like, how big his statue would just be, would just be insane. But I think out of those guys, like a guy like even like some young guys that we were looking at to be kind of like those torch bearers and like Zion, for instance, and guys like that just aren't panning out in the way that we thought they would. Still great players, but they're not at this point in time statue worthy at all. So I think it's tough. I think especially for these young guys, they're gonna have to come through and have somebody will do it. Somebody will have a dynastic run, and we'll just be like, oh wow, this guy. Paulo Banchero is now like one of the greatest players ever. So he needs a statue. You never know. Like, you never know with what the future holds. That's the fun of it. Yeah. I think just off of that press conference with Wade though, he did mention with Miami that he was jealous of how the big three of Boston, KG, Paul Pierce, and Rayon were able to come together to kind of celebrate the championship that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown just won, and the jealousy that he feels that he wants to be that older guy to come back and watch the guys win that championship. But he spoke to a house divided in Miami. So I guess from a outsider's perspective, what would you think that house divided would be? Would it be between like Jimmy front office? Would it be front office within front office? Is that Spo and the coaching staff? Like where do you think that Spo and the players? Where do you think that divide rests? That needs to be cleared up.
I think right now it's I don't think it's Spo. I think Spo's like a really good, just like keep everything running coach, right? Like really good coach, really good culture setter, all that kind of stuff. If there's a house divided and a division, it's between the players and Pat Riley right now, because Pat is flirting with the idea of redoing the roster and redoing the core and redoing the philosophy. And he's giving them another run by the looks of things. And I kind of think like Miami has until like Christmas to show him one way or the other, like whether or not this is a group that he's going to invest in or a group that he's going to divest from. So I think there's like purposeful distance being created from like Pat and the players at the moment, because he's getting ready to move some. But also, speaking to what like Wade's saying there about like the older generation coming back and like celebrating the young generation when they win a championship, he needs LeBron to retire, right? It's one thing.
Buddies.
One thing to show up with Chris Bosh, but they're missing somebody.
I think Wade would be cool as long as UD's by his side. As long as UD's with him,
UD's getting the statue.
Yeah,
right?
He might get the statue. We talk about players that just like transcend earlier, about like Wemby just transcending your typical award guidelines.
Yeah,
UD transcends all of that. UD transcends all of that for the Heat. Give him a statue when it's time. Of him doing a mid-range jumper. Just when you guys are ready. I'm ready. I am ready. A few teams weren't ready. His teams to start this season. Bucks, Pacers, and Denver are the main ones I kind of want to get into, though. I guess starting with the Bucks. We'll start out east with the Bucks. 1-3 to start. Uninspiring losses to Brooklyn. And others that just weren't really great. How do you feel about the Bucks one weekend?
I don't feel good about the Bucks. And the fact that Giannis came out and said this is a team without an identity, and it looks like that was who they were last year, and nobody quite said it, but I feel like the Bucks are a post-championship team like so many, where they won their championship. Now the team's just a little bit old, a little bit like some of the players got pulled off the edges, as like when you win a championship, other teams come looking for your for your role players and see if they can fit them into their teams. And they never really kind of like recovered. And like Middleton got like has been fighting his health for a couple of years. Brooke Lopez just keeps getting older. So they bring in Dame to like reinvigorate like the whole franchise, keep Giannis happy. And it just like it's fallen flat on its face. It has not worked. And
They're bringing
okay,
Doc.
yeah, last year was a little different, so they're like, let's run it back, see what we got. And I don't know. If there's a league changing trade that happens this season, it happens with a player coming out of Milwaukee.
Yeah. I think sorry. I think that's the case. It's just really, really uninspiring, especially without Middleton there right now. I think two big things we can point to when we're looking at where they are and why they are where they are right now. Where it comes to the Doc Rivers hiring, I believe when they hired when Adrian Griffin was fired, they were like 30-13, like they were fine.
Yeah,
they were doing okay. It was tumultuous. Like they didn't like the way he was coaching, but he was getting results from the team. I think that they've had a losing record since they've had Doc, and that hasn't changed. And yeah, I think coming into the season, having that be one of the first sound bites a week in that there's no identity when you've had the whole offseason, not much turnover. You're supposed to come in, you're supposed to be able to implement your new ideologies as a coach and have all you guys follow that, kind of like how JJ Redick did earlier, how we talked about how he was able to bring in his system and implement that. And Doc has had more time with these guys, and that still not be able to translate. Maybe it's not all on Doc, but it speaks to the roster construction. And when we look at the roster construction, I don't know how much I love that Dame trade for them in the long run. Like, I don't think they needed to do. I think it really helped out of everyone, Boston the most.
Yeah,
I think it did Boston the greatest favor. They got rid of some guys that they probably were scared to get rid of, but because this opportunity came about, they jumped on it and they're able to get a guy in Drew from it. And I think it really hurt what they had there. I think Drew, Giannis, and Middleton have been a great core for them with Brooke Lopez. I think those guys just meshed well together and were able to pick each other's slack when need be. And I don't think Dame does that in the same way that Drew does, even though Dame hands down is the better player. Like, no question. But I think just for basketball fit and for what Bucks are building towards, I think having Drew there was very beneficial, and some of their other pieces there. They lost like Grayson Allen too, so they lost some depth when they went for Dame. I don't think they needed to do it at that point in time.
I agree 100%. Like at the time, all the talk was that Miami was courting Dame, and then the Bucks sweep in and pull this thing off, and somehow Boston ends up with Drew. The Bucks have Dame, who's like a little confused he's there as well, because I'm 90% sure he was convinced he was going to Miami.
Yeah.
And it just feels like the Bucks like brain trust were really proud of themselves in that moment. Like, haha.
We got one over them. Yeah.
We got one over Miami. We just scored Dame. Like, this is all just gonna work out. This is 2K. But it doesn't quite work out like 2K, where you just assemble good players and it works out. And now I feel like Milwaukee's in a place where I don't think they can walk it back. Like, I don't think they're a tweak or two away from making it work. I just don't think it works. And the only way to deal with it is to deal with it in the most extreme ways, which is trading out like Dame or Giannis, or just trying again. But this combination just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. And it should. Like, good players should work. But
those two guys are playing well. Like, those two guys have started off the season playing relatively well. Like, they're playing. Dame's still struggling a little bit with his 3-point shot, but like, he's still averaging 28 points to start the season. Like, it's nothing to slouch at. But I think that cohesion is just not where it should be from those two. And you have like that interesting comment too from Giannis to start the season as well. Before, if we don't win the championship, he expects to be traded. I think it's something he alluded to that. Said that in one of his early press conferences. I'm like, that's kind of just odd. It's like giving yourself like an out before the season even starts. Like if he requests a trade. So now this question just popped into my brain because you've been kind of clamoring for Miami to kind of trade Jimmy and pull it up from that regard and just get some new blood in there. Do you see between the two teams, Milwaukee and Miami, which team do you see kind of hitting that button first?
Based on record, Milwaukee. I think they're probably giving themselves a lot of the same time frame, like get to Christmas, see what the team looks like. I think when it comes to trading like a superstar and like readdressing the direction that a franchise is going to go in, I don't think you want to wait till the All-Star break. I think by the All-Star break you've in a way given up. Yeah, you're just like we're moving them because we can't sign them. Right.
Yeah, a lot of these like trades that happen, then I feel like they don't get their proper amount of time to acclimate to their new system and all that time. And then by the time the playoffs start, you're like, oh, he's kind of getting it now. But I feel like the earlier the better.
Yeah. So like, it's kind of funny though, because if you could put Jimmy Butler like on Milwaukee, that's probably a really good team.
Yeah, if you just slot him in there,
right? If you can slot him in instead of Middleton, probably a really good team. And maybe that's it with Milwaukee is they're just missing that cohesion piece that makes a Giannis and a Dame work. And maybe that's what they're debating with as well. Just like I imagine Pat Riley is debating with the idea of is it present or is it future, and who am I investing in? I imagine it's the same when you get over to Milwaukee. Like they're having the exact same conversations, which is a lot harder when like your present is Giannis Antetokounmpo.
Yeah. And, an MVP Defensive Player of the Year candidate almost every year. Like that's not easy. That's not easy to just like want to. Yeah, I do not envy that position.
And he's what, 30 now? Like
he's still in his prime.
30?
Yeah, he's still in his prime. So peak is right in the middle of his prime. So that's a tough one. You don't really want to get rid of a talent like that. I think Dame would go before, just because it just hasn't felt like it's really been fun for anybody that's been there. So yeah, we'll see how that tracks throughout the season. I guess the other two teams that I've come in with a little more concern about is the Pacers and Denver. I guess quickly, Denver struggling to beat some of these teams. Like they struggled to beat Brooklyn today. They struggled to beat the Raptors. Both of them they had to go to overtime to beat them in. The depth is really just lacking right now. Jokic had that one comment after the first game that they just mentioned Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. being the only good shooters and the rest just being like sort of average streaky shooters. And that doesn't like bode well for like just confidence like in general. Like it doesn't seem like they're too enthused with the roster that they have over there in the Nuggets. So how's that? Like, is this too early to really call anything for the Nuggets? Are they just going to shape up as the season goes on, or is this a red alarm that we need to start looking at right away?
I think both are going to happen in that, like, I think they're going to shape up, but we said the same thing would probably happen with Denver, where they start slow and then by the end of the year we're like, oh, this is one of the three best teams in the NBA. I don't think they're going to be that this year. Like, I think they'll be just out of like the plan. Like they'll be a 5th or 6th seed in the West. And that's not a place that a Denver should be. And Jokic is right. They need to find shooting. They need to add shooters. Where they find them, how they get them. That's for the front office to figure out. But right now, like he's telling them what he needs, right? Like, I need a guy to pass the ball to that's gonna like make a difference.
Yeah, and I think that's just right. Like he's steadily telling them, this is the look, guys. If we want to compete again, if we want to be that top team, this is what we kind of need to make that happen. That depth needs to come up. We need the shooting. We need some more versatility out there. Christian Braun's trying. He's trying, but he can only do so much. Aaron Gordon's not not naturally a shooter. He's a great defender. That's what they got him there. But on the offensive end, he can struggle at times. So I think that over there at Denver is going to be interesting to pan out. We did kind of call that it would be slow, but I think where my brain's shifted a bit in this early season is I had the Mavs being like that team that's going to take that drop off.
That's fair. I think I had the same.
I think Denver might be that team for those reasons. That I think Mavs playing with a little bit more energy. Like today, they had that game against Minnesota. Luka, I don't know what happens when Luka plays Minnesota. He's just hitting crazy step back jumpers from half court.
From the logo.
yeah. So they still look very energized. They look like they want to prove that they're deserving of a finals berth. And Denver just doesn't have that same energy, that same aura around them that maybe a Mavs does at this moment. So I could see them being more of a dropper than I may have foresaw entering the season. As with the Pacers. Pacers also starting off 1-3, but I think this one is a little bit more foreseeable because they were such an offensive juggernaut last year that they're catching teams by surprise by that offense. I think when that offense just isn't humming, we've seen that Holmgren's taking a little bit of time to get going to start the season. So I'm sure he's going to pick it up, and then they'll start winning games. They'll run up a bunch of games, and this will be up in the road. But I think it is something to note that the defense is still a bit of a concern, and the offense, when it's not going, really causes them a lot of problems.
Well, and I think that's the long-term concern, because if they don't figure out a way to either fundamentally change the way they play defense or find some defensive like tone changers as far as like personnel goes, because this is a team that was all world in offense last year and just got like they met Boston in the finals, conference finals, and they got shown the way. And to come out and start the year as they have, like, what a good defense does is it keeps you in games that maybe you shouldn't be in.
Yeah.
And right now they've got nothing doing that. So they've opened the year terribly. Like, they need a good defense for the games where the offense isn't working. And unless the offense turns around like really quickly, like they need to answer some questions. I still have faith in them, and I still have faith in their roster. I still have faith in like the guys in the locker room and the coaching staff, and they're like, everybody's still like together in this.
Yeah.
Whereas like Milwaukee, I'm thinking there might be like cracks in the foundation.
Right. Yeah, Indiana still has like that family front. Yeah,
and I think they can still build on that. Indiana, I think, is in a good place. Like, I would rather be in Indiana's place than Milwaukee's place right now.
Yeah. I think that's just about right. I think they'll be able to figure out. Right now, they have, according to Basketball Reference, the 23rd. Their defense is the 23rd ranked, which is not great, and their offense is only 17, so they're below average right there too. So if they're below average in both, like we expect that on the defensive end, but on the offensive end, that's troubling. But as soon as that offense picks up, we don't expect much from the defensive end. But as soon as that offense picks up, they should be probably relatively close to where they were last year. I think that does it for most of the things that we had to talk about. Didn't want to talk a little bit about starting five, but there'll be lots and lots of time about that. Anything else before we head out?
No, not just like a lot of injuries already, like this season, and injuries to like important players, like Steph getting an ankle injury. Like, it's concerning to see. You don't want to see it.
DeJounte Murray.
DeJounte Murray's out for a while. Taylor Hendricks lost his whole season.
Yeah, that was tragic.
Yeah.
Wet spot.
Oof. Like, I know we're excited as fans to have the NBA back. And I don't know. Is this fallout from from a Olympic year where guys just play more basketball than normal. But then like Hendrick's wet spot, so random, right?
random.
Like he didn't play Olympic ball, but he gets taken out by water, right? Like
you never know what it could be. It's just sad. And then you have guys like Embiid who are just like kind of resting.
For how long?
Who knows what's going on.
And you made the joke about Kawhi. Like, is he ever going to come back? But that's a really good question. Is Kawhi ever going to come back?
Yeah, it's a legit question. There was footage of him in the practice facility, so that's good. That's positive, I guess.
Doing what?
He was there.
He could have been eating a muffin, though.
Could have been eating a muffin.
Like, great job, boys. Like, I'm gonna have this.
Could have been coaching.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I'm doing a New Balance spot. It's nice to see you guys. Yeah.
Oh boy, I like that guy.
He's a fun guy.
He's a fun guy. That'll do it for this episode of the NBA Hangout presented by Playbook Sports. You can follow us at the NBA Hangout on X and on Instagram. You can follow me at BJAY93_. You can follow Dave here every week. Like and subscribe on Apple and Spotify. We're on YouTube, visuals, all that fun stuff. Thank y'all for hanging out. Peace.